My favorite senior memory is probably playing baseball for 5 years at this school and all the seasons. It's pretty fun.
My favorite senior memory was sophomore powder puff, and me and Victoria left, and we were going down the road, and all of a sudden this goose came out of nowhere, and I almost hit it, and it quacked, and I almost wrecked, and we just... What to talk about?
Do gooses quack?
It did a...
My favorite BACS memory was one time whenever me and Emily Bold were in the locker room, and then I kicked a volleyball and it hit one of the pipes up there, and it totally exploded, and all the sinks and toilets started shooting up water like a geyser, and then the whole locker room like flooded.
Is when I basically just came to school and, started learning how to play football, and just got to become a really decent player. It wasn't easy. It had a lot of bumps along the road. Like this one game my freshman year, I tackled a guy from behind, and it was an illegal tackle, and everyone was laughing at me. Thanks, man. Thanks. Why are they laughing?
My favorite senior memory is last year in Miss Cole's history class where Jordan Worthington would fall asleep and he'd pass gas, and Luke would be asleep behind him and he'd wake up and be like, "Guys, what's that smell?" It was really funny.
Going to homecoming senior year in the party bus, going up there was really fun because we all got to go together and hang out with our friends and stuff.
My favorite BACS memory is my mom's art class. Hi, Mom!
My favorite high school memory is all of Coach Gardner's quotes, like, during a race, remember to run. You're going to do horribly well and horribly bad. I don't know what your time was, but those taquitos were good.
My favorite BAC memory, probably whenever I would flip out of my desk in Spanish class.
My favorite BACS memory is when Rebecca fainted in art class after she cut her finger, and Cody was trying to take her to the nurse, but he dropped her on the floor, and then Miss Emerson ran into the room, and Hey Jude was playing in the background, and people were videotaping it.
My favorite BACS memory was when we were sitting in my mom's room in 8th grade, and a criminal was loose in the woods behind the school. And then we had to be on lockdown, and so we all got water bottles and animal crackers. And then someone's mom came to the door, and then people were doing ninja rolls to the door. It was funny.
My favorite memory in BAC would be spending my senior year with Rachel.
My favorite memory is probably when the track bus got stranded at a taqueria.
My favorite senior memory is playing varsity volleyball all 4 years and making it to Final Four this year at state.
My favorite BAC memory would probably be whenever I threw Colton over my shoulder and broke the board. I didn't know my own strength.
My favorite BAC memory was when Miss Polite kept hearing a vacuum cleaner downstairs in the preschool classes, and she called the office. And so while she called the office, she turned the overhead off, and she's like, "Thank goodness, the vacuum cleaner stopped." And then we wanted to get back to our lesson, and she turned it on again. She's like, "Man, it started again!" So she called the office 3 times, and we were such a great class, we didn't decide to tell her that it was the overhead.
My favorite BAC memory has to be Mr. Raines.
My favorite memory from school is when me and Missy poked a hole in the Dr. Pepper Thor can and we sprayed it all over Zach.
Oh yeah, and Miss Emerson.
My favorite BACS memory has got to be discovering Zach's hidden talent on the party bus.
My favorite BAC memory is going to state my senior year for volleyball and playing soccer.
And Mr. Lord.
My favorite Bay Area memory is probably when Brian Lawson pretended to be a new student in Mr. Meeks' class. So thanks, Brian, and sorry, Mr. Meeks.
My favorite senior memory was when we were going to our robotics competition, and the boys had gone ahead of us, and they were already at the place, and us girls were riding up in a van together, and we all conspired and texted the boys like similar stories saying that nobody was showing up. Everyone had like slept in or were sick, and the boys freaked out. They were extremely mad, and the best part was when Rachel told Zach that she didn't have any gas and asked if she could fill it up with melted butter, and he believed her and was really mad.
Oh, and Miss Khalil.
My favorite Bay Area memory has to be probably the time in 8th grade, Miss Tully's class, whenever we were on the discussion of gas giants, and Cody Howard decided to release a gas giant of his own, and pretty much the whole story ended with us having to evacuate the science class because it smelled that bad. So thank you, Cody, for that, and it was a very good experience.
My favorite BAC memory is when my friends and I went camping in my backyard, and in the middle of the night it started a big thunderstorm and it flooded our tent.
My favorite BAC memory would be when Angela ran into the glass screen door at the end of the year basketball sleepover and she didn't know what happened. It was really funny.
Miss Avery.
My favorite BAC memory would have to be when Miss Khalil was calling on Daisy for his test grade, and she goes, "Daisy Morgan," and he goes, "What you want?"
One of my favorite memories is when Miss Polite told us that we should never put anything where it belongs because then we'll never find it.
My favorite BACS memory had to be when me and Luke were walking to class and we were talking about what we were going to do for speech, and we were doing on self-defense, and I was like, I know self-defense moves, and Luke was like, really? He's like, can you show me? I was like, yeah, dude, go ahead, just fake punch me. So he goes to fake punch me, and I grab his fist, and I don't know what came over me. I was like a wild ninja, and I just was like, yeah, and just a knife struck him like in the stomach, and he fell on the ground, and I could have sworn I heard like a.
And all the other teachers, yeah, and the students. Great.
My favorite BAC memory is probably whenever Mrs. Emerson and I ditched Will Fisher and went to Round Rock Donuts, and then we came back and got him, and he never knew what happened, and we were late to TAPS, but that's okay.
My favorite time was probably when Mr. Brown's zipper was undone, and Daisy tried to tell him that it was undone by writing it at the top of his test, and Mr. Brown looked at the test and was like, "My zipper is not undone!" And then he was like, "I'm sorry, guys," and turned around and zipped it back up.
My favorite BACS memory is in advanced biology class when we found out why Mrs. Emerson's ringtone was Wild Thing.
My favorite senior memory is all the great soccer memories that we had and Miss Khalil's history class, 11th grade year. Oh yeah.
My favorite BAC memory is in the 9th grade when Cody Howard serenaded Mrs. Williams outside in the hall. That way Tyler Henry could stuff his face full of Chick-fil-A behind a folder because he didn't eat lunch.
Probably the time me and Colton went to Sonic before a basketball game, and I pepper sprayed myself in the face, and Colton was laughing, and he started choking on the pepper spray, and then we both jumped out, and his car was still a drive, and he had to jump back in and put it in park, and we almost died.
My favorite senior moment is when Mr. Brown told us a story when he woke up in a ditch, and the first thing he thought was, "Where are my shoes?"
My favorite senior memory is when we beat O'Connell on senior night after being down by 9 runs.